Welcome to Remain in the Race podcast, brought to you by 88 Live to Ride, with your hosts Ryan Havens, Daniel Hillian, and Mitch Reynolds, where we're going to discuss all things family, life, racing, and outdoors, where all glory will be given to the one who created us.
You're listening to Remain in the Race. This is episode 19, brought to you by 88 Live to Ride. And if you're shopping on Amazon, make sure to go to smile.amazon.com. Use the promo code 88 Live to Ride to help out Miss Debbie Bartarsik over there at 88 Lives to Ride. Also, big shout out to 110% Nutrition, RJR, and Big ChiefMotorsports. We have got an episode, oh man, number 19 is going to be great. We've got Kohl and Kiefer Moore coming on, just giving their dad all kinds of grief. Super excited about it. But before we get into that, I got to bring the man, the myth, the legend, the pride of Faulkner County, Arkansas. The one his mama is slightly proud of. The one his dad only thinks about at night. That's all a lie. I'm just kidding. It's Mitch Reynolds. How are you, Mitch?
Well, one thing that is true is that is all a lie. You keep building me up. You build this story up more and more and more. Man, I'm just happy to be here and be a part of this and be a part of this podcast and the EDT racing community. So, yeah, man, I'm awesome interview coming up with the Moore brothers. Very good visit with them. And then later getting into the Feeding the 5,000 in John chapter 6. But yeah, man, Super D's life's good. Staying busy, getting really busy, ready for the really busy season and for racing to kick off. Man, it's good.
It is good. I just want to echo that. Same here. And, you know, we're not 10 episodes into this podcast, man, and I'm trying to come up with new things to bring you in. You know, that's kind of my role, is to get the thing going, and then I bring the analyst, the pro in, and that's you. And so I'm just trying to come up with new material, you know. So
yeah, I mean, you make it sound good. I mean, you really build me up, whether those things are true or not of me. One thing is, I am an ATV racing enthusiast. I love Jesus, and I was fortunate enough to get to compete in this sport at the highest level. So whether the man, the myth, the legend, all those things are true or not, that's, you know, I guess the past can be the past. The older we get, maybe the bigger the story will get. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you know, you did get a super cool opportunity. Was it 19, the Legends race?
Yes.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
That was cool.
Yeah.
That was super cool. So I guess, you know, I did get an invite and get to participate in that alongside, you know, my idols in racing, Tim Farr and Shane Hidd and Harold Goodman and Kirby Cook was there. He got the win there. So, I mean, I guess in that regard, yes, was awesome, man. So just honored and humbled to be considered as part of one of that crowd.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Well, man, we've got, again, a great episode coming up. Builders Brawl is looking spicy, Mitch. I know we've talked to a couple of our builders that are going to be part of that with us, and it's going to be awesome. I think we can go ahead and share kind of our schedule where you will see us this season. Can we give our listeners that?
Yes, I think we're pretty well locked in on that. You know, being having families, those things are tentative to change. Life can change. You respond to those. But I think we have a good tentative schedule of the places we should be.
Should be, yes. And like I said, life can happen. You know, don't hold us to this. But as of February the 12th, 2023, you will see us two. We're going to hit the first round of the Midwest Series at Paducah, Kentucky. For a builder, and probably next episode we'll share those.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds like a plan.
And then the next weekend we'll be down at Black Ankle. So me and you are going to get to spend in like a 10-day period. We're going to get to spend a lot of time together.
So we're either going to be like really, I don't know, we're going to be really close brothers, or we're going to be those brothers at each other's throat. One of the two.
One or the other. But we will definitely be at Black Ankle looking to that. Already been talking to CJ Robson, and he's kind of giving us a little insight there. So excited to be, it'd be my first trip to Black Ankle.
Oh, you're in for a treat.
I'm so excited.
You're in for a treat.
And then you'll catch us June 17th at Budds Creek. And, dude, that's going to be an awesome weekend.
That is going to be a great weekend.
Motocross series is there. The flat track series is there. Man, I've never been to a motocross national, Mitch.
You haven't? Well,
Nope.
you're in for a treat. And then once you see that track deteriorate and just watch Chad and Joel and Brandon Hogue and Bryce Ford and so many others, I mean, everyone in that pro class, the speed that they carry, they're going to carry like EDT speeds on a track that is rough that you can't even walk around. It's going to have so many holes and the elevation changes. So you're going to be in for a treat. And then we get to turn that around, and under the lights we get to see Brad and CJ and Aaron and the Moore brothers go at it and dice it up under the lights.
Yeah, I really hope that we get some of our Midwest crew up to that. Like, man, like what an opportunity to showcase EDT racing at such a big venue. Just the crowd that's going to be, what an opportunity, man.
Yeah, super cool that they're going to mesh the worlds back together.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. So good job to Sean over there at the EDT series, working with the motocross promoters and making that happen. That's going to be awesome. Probably chaos, but it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Then you can catch us August 5th and 6th. We'll be at Benton, Missouri, back to the Midwest series for us. And then kind of the one we've got hanging in the back, I think for sure I will be there. We've got to wait and see what's going on with school and kids and sports. You know, we're kind of in the same
football
boat.
Coaching, you know.
Football coach, yeah. Would be the weekend after Labor Day, September, up there in Osgood, Indiana, for kind of the East versus West shootout thing that the Midwest Series puts on. I know last year when they did that, there was a bunch of North Carolina guys that came over to Indiana for that. So we'll see, Mitch. I don't know.
It's an exciting schedule, and I'm looking forward to, after each one of these races, that we get to really analyze and break down what we saw in these machines, hopefully give you guys some good info, some good insight on maybe some setup changes or different components to change to up your game. I mean, because we're here to build the sport, so we want to help everybody out there try to get better. You know, another thing we will be doing at every race that we attend, we will either be there to bring EDT Church or just to support in that. We've got Mr. Dylan Cruisenberry that's kind of headed that up over the Midwest Series, so we'll be there to support him in whatever means he needs. And, man, I would really like to get that going in the NE EDT world as well. So if there's anyone that feels led to just lead a time of prayer, of fellowship, reach out to us, man. We'll help you out in whatever way we can. The races we're at, you know, we'll bring that thing, but it's really something that's on our heart that would get started, would be solid. It's something that's much needed to fellowship, you know, off the side of the track with one another.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts that I love doing it. You know, we both have home churches that we're a part of, but being able to step away from the, I guess I would say, you know, our regular church to go be part of our other church together is really a lot of fun. I love that. That's right. Well, hey, we're going to catch a pit stop here real quick. We're going to jump in with the Moore brothers, so stay with us. We'll be right back.
Here at Remain in the Race, we're happy to be partnered with ChiefMotorsports. He is top-of-the-line graphic design. You can find them over on Facebook at ChiefMotorsports for all your graphic needs.
All right, we're back for another little segment here. We have two awesome young men. We have Kohl and Kiefer Moore. And Mitch, before we hit record here, you were saying the last time you raced Extreme Dirt Track. It's a habit. I'm sorry, boys. But you had a pretty good battle with these guys.
I did. I think Kohl and I had some pretty good battles out there at Black Ankle. He did get the better of me in both races. I'm still a little bit bitter. No, I'm not really bitter, but I did have a great time racing against you, Kohl. Seems like those were some of the best battles I can remember from my last few races. And but you did get the better of me in both of those, the Pro-Am and the Pro class. So yeah, kudos to you. It was a good time.
Thank you. It was fun. Definitely battling. What was that now? 2 years now? 2 years ago?
Yeah, it'll be 2 years. Yep.
Fun track. Yep. No, Black Ankle. I think they're definitely a top-notch track right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Well, Kohl, we've got you welcome in here first thing. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I know, you've been in the pro class now for a few years. You've got a lot of amateur titles. You've really been dicing it up and got your first pro podium this year. But just tell us, who is Kohl outside of EDT Pro Racer?
And outside of racing, I'd say I'm kind of the same person. I mean, I pretty much just fool around, work on the bikes, ride, go to work, whatever. Play some basketball. That's always good for cardio, for racing. And this winter, I've been really hitting the gym. I've been really trying to go like 5 days a week. So I've been really getting into the gym this winter. And yeah, other than that, other than working and riding, that's just kind of what I do.
So as far as work, what is work for you, Kohl?
Right now, I work at KRB Machinery. They're a rebar machine bending company. We build machines, assemble them, and ship them out all over the world. So right now, I'm there assembling them.
All right, super cool. So spending quite a bit of time in the gym, getting yourself ready for the season, getting yourself fit. Would you say your fitness this year is better than it's ever been, or what?
Well, right now, I weigh about 160. And last year at the beginning of the season, I weighed about 132 pounds.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I'd say I'm a lot more fit here.
Yeah, you more traction, baby, more traction.
Oh, yeah. You need that.
Yeah.
Hey, well, want to welcome Brother Kiefer in here. Kiefer, welcome in, man. So 22 was your rookie season in the pro class, getting to dice it up with brothers. So we got the Moore brothers both racing at the top level of the sport. So Kiefer, tell us about yourself, man.
Well, we kind of do around the same thing. We work at the same place, kind of go to the same gym, do around the same things with each other, ride around here.
So you are a little bit at an advantage when you've got two top level guys doing the same thing, running the same circles. I mean, always competing. I guess that's probably what's upped your level so quick. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, I'd say that's true because we're always trying to push each other to be better than each other.
Yeah, and I remember visiting with Kohl and Mac, your dad, at Saxton this year. And what's the age gap between you two guys?
2 years.
2 years. Gotcha. Well, Mitch had a sister. What's the gap between you and?
Yes, three and a half.
Well, I have an older brother, so I kind of relate to you two guys, but my brother is 7 years older than I am, and he's 6'5". I'm 5'11". So, but I do remember coming up, and when I was getting, older and bigger, I was kind of like you, Kiefer. When I was a little bit bigger, could kind of handle the machine a little better. Man, I just started whipping his tail, and it was awesome because he whipped my tail my whole life, so it's always good when the little brother can get one over on the big brother. So Kiefer, I'm with you on this, big guy.
So we were talking before we started about this theory that I have. So I learned that both of these guys are riding some motocross. They go to Breezewood Proving Grounds. And so I have this theory that, motocross racers really is what makes the elite EDT racer. So I guess you guys would agree with that. But your dad, he raced three-wheelers, correct?
Yes.
So is this what ultimately got y'all into racing? You kind of grew up at the racetrack and one thing led to another there, or tell me about that.
No, I actually never really grew up at the racetrack. Like my dad, when I was born, I think my dad only did maybe a handful of races and then he called it quits. So I never really was around, got to ever see him race other than a couple years ago when he came back with the three-wheeler and raced the 1-200 class. Like, what was that now? 8 years ago. That's about pretty much the only time I really ever seen him race. But no, we definitely got into racing because of him. He raced for 30, 35 years, almost every weekend. And yeah, I mean, when you got it in your blood, you got it in your blood. So
yeah.
Yes.
Yep. We've got a little Facebook page around here, guys, of was Bone a three-wheeler racer? He raced a little bit?
No. He started off on the Blaster.
Well, we've got and what's funny is talking about three-wheelers and years ago, we've got a little Facebook page. It's some Arkansas guys here. Some of the guys we're buddies with, it's their dads have started it, and they're all the time posting old three-wheeler pictures, and then it'll show them at the tracks unloading their what's the car truck combo vehicle thing from back in the day? You know what I'm talking? It was the car, but it had the not an El Camino. El Camino. Yeah. Camino. And it'll have them unload and have a tarp like bungee corded to the car and then over their quad racer. It's the funniest thing. So it sounds like y'all probably got some pictures like that floating around your house too.
We got so many pictures of him racing and all types of stuff. And I know he likes to be on all the forums on Facebook, posting them and sharing them.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's fun. So, Cole, tell us about your first race then.
My first race was motocross, probably back in, I think, 2005. I was racing a little Suzuki 50. I guess it was an LT 50, and didn't have no suspension or nothing. And yeah, I think my first race we went to was Sleepy Hollow. If you know Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah, I've never been there, but yes, I'm familiar with Sleepy Hollow.
Yep, I think that was my first race. I couldn't tell you anything about it. I couldn't tell you nothing about racing motocross back then.
And Kiefer, what's your first race, man?
My first race, what was that? Pine Lake back in, was it 2012? I was on a stock DR in the 50 class. I don't remember what place I got, but I didn't go that good. All those guys were fast.
Yeah. but you were hooked, man.
Yeah. Well, definitely after that.
Oh man. My first race I was on a 400EX, Mitch, and I probably looked like Kohl or Kiefer on their 50, except I was on like a full-size four-wheeler. I was 12. And it did not go well.
Oh my.
I think it's probably a similar situation for all of us on our first race. My first race, I think I spun out, if there were 5 turns on the track, I probably spun out at about 10 times per lap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was about how my racing career started.
Spin out going in, spin out coming out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, tell us, I know for me, sometimes racing's all a blur because there's just been so many of them. Sometimes it can be hard to remember all the races. But let's start with you, Cole. Tell us kind of your fondest memory, just looking back, like that race that just sticks out in your mind of, man, that was just a great weekend of racing.
I'd have to probably say Michigan last year, not this past year, but the year before when I got my first ever podium. That has to be my fondest memory, because just to be able to beat Brad and just everything that went on that weekend, it was just so good. Mm-hmm. So good of a race.
So I guess everything was just clicking. Like, tell me a little bit about the race. I mean, I didn't get to see it. I just get to see the results because I wasn't there. And I was super pumped for you. But tell me just what you remember about the race.
I just remember, well, we did a first start, and I started like 4th place, and Brad Riley, CJ Robson, and Damian King, they all go into the first turn like 3 wide, and they all run into each other. CJ clips a tree, Brad flips it. I'm like, and I'm standing right behind them, so I bounce off a couple of them and end up in the grass. So then we did a restart, and I guess Brad must I think he hurt his wrist when he crashed, so he was holding it and whatever. And then we did restart. I started, I think, about the same place, 4th place, and just kept charging the whole race. And then Brad eventually came out behind me, and I'm like, man, Brad's already here. Do I just let him by and just call it, like, not even try to defend him off? Because I'm not doing it for the next 10 minutes. I'm like, no. I'll just put my head down, just try to keep him behind. And for the rest of pretty much the whole race, 10 minutes of the race, I was able to keep him behind and beat him. And that was my first podium. And it's just, I was never so pumped in my life.
That's awesome. I can just imagine the pressure that you felt the entirety of that race, like no mistakes.
Oh, no. When you got someone who doesn't make a single mistake behind you, you gotta be flawless.
Yeah, multi-time champ can pass anyone anywhere, and man, you held him off. Yeah, that's a feather in your hat, man, for sure. That's awesome.
Awesome, Cole. Well, what about you, Kiefer? Share your best memory of racing so far.
I would probably say, what was that, 2020 at Pine Lake when I won all my on the 3 championships that year.
All right.
That was
So
a good
that's the
memory.
year that you won Pro Light, Open A, and College Boy, right? You won
Yeah.
all 3 of those. Wow, what a 3-time champ! Just bang, all in 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I felt great.
Yeah. So what's it like, Kiefer? Because I can remember kind of stepping into this. Mitch never knows what this feels like because he's always been amazing at everything. But what's it like?
I'm going to interject. Hold on. This is a lie. I'm not good at everything.
Okay, when it comes to four-wheeler, Mitch is pretty good. You know, I remember kind of going through the same thing you did, Kiefer, and Kohl, you probably did as well. But you come from this amateur and you're just smashing everybody. I mean, if you're not winning, you're top 3, you know. And then you step into that pro class, those pro-am classes, and it's like, oh, like all of these guys have won those championships as amateurs, and now it's just a whole nother realm. Talk to me about that. Like, what does that do for you? You know, your mindset going into that 2020 season there at the end was, I got this wrapped up, no problem. Then going into 21 going, like, talk us through like kind of how you had to shift your mindset there going from, you know, I may not win every race or be on the podium, but I'm going to, you know, ride my guts out regardless. What's that like, man?
Oh yeah, my first pro race. I thought I was coming in. I thought I could run pretty so close to him, but I went and got smoked. I was like, I didn't realize how fast they actually were.
Yeah,
and that did suck. I hurt my mental state.
mm-hmm.
You just gotta move forward from that.
Yeah.
So talk to us about moving forward, like where mentally after, you know, kind of realization hits, that reality check happens. Where do you take yourself mentally to get past that and be like, all right, I've just got to move forward?
Yeah, I just said I'm already riding hard. I just gotta ride 20% harder.
I like it. So just push that much more. It is crazy. It's pretty humbling, isn't it, to realize, you know, you're watching these guys on the sideline. You feel like, well, I'm going pretty fast. I'm doing good. And then you get out there and you're just like, the pace is crazy, and it's crazy to carry that pace without making mistakes. That's another key in it. Just wild.
Yeah, because I swear they were going faster at the last couple laps than they were the first couple laps. And I was like, I don't know how they're doing that because I'm already tired.
Yeah. Well, even this year at Pine Lake, Mitch and I were sitting in the stands, and he leaned over and he goes, hey, watch Brad. He will get faster about 4 laps in. From there on, he will ride faster than the first 3. And I'm like, what? And so we were kind of keeping up with it. And at the end of it, you know, it's loud during the race. You can't talk. And at the end of the race, I said, okay, explain that to me. And he said, well, a lot of these guys will run a bit harder of a tire, and it takes that many laps to get the heat in the tires, to get the traction to do what they want to do. And that's what I was like, oh, okay. Because if they run a softer tire, well, halfway through the race, they've already burned that tire off. And I was like, oh, I get it now. And sure enough, like you say, they are definitely faster towards the end than the beginning, you know.
So we're mentioning Pine Lake. Kohl, I don't want to pour salt in maybe a still open wound a little bit, but dude, you were rolling at Pine Lake. I was like, me and JB were standing over there, and you know, I'm talking to him. He's like, oh, is that Max boy? I said, yeah, it's Max boy. He's rolling. We were just watching. I was like, he's coming, you know, and then unfortunately your sprocket or your chain broke. I don't remember what the mechanical was, but you were having one heck of a race. So, you know, that's another point of adversity. You know, you were rolling it, you were feeling it, and then it just all kind of goes away in a moment. So how do you rebound from that? Like, what was your mental state at that point?
Well, it was one of those things. It's like that was one of the weekends when it's like when it rains, it pours, because I then got a flat in the Pro-Am main, and then I forget something happened in the Pro main. And then when I was driving home from the race that night, I got sick. So I'm like, oh my gosh, everything just happened at once this weekend. But no, you just gotta go back to work and come back to the next race with a clean mindset, and just be positive. You just gotta come back focused, come back 100%, and don't let the last race distract you, because they say you're only as good as your last race, but that's when you gotta kind of neglect those sort of things and just push forward.
That's right. I mean, we're not a culmination of just what happened yesterday, but a culmination of all the things we've done, as a society. Sorry, I'm not going to get off on preaching here, but as a society,
Yeah.
we do look at that. What was your last success, or what was the last great thing? We're always looking for the next great thing, but to kind of just keep that level head and be like, I know I've got it. I can't control the things that happen. All I can control is how I respond to what happened. So anyway, that's super cool, because then you go on and you get another podium at Michigan. So you obviously
Yep.
very well. So,
Well, Kiefer, this is for you again, younger brother talking to younger brother. What have you been doing in the off season to make sure that Kohl doesn't get a leg up on you this season? Like, I'm sure your goal is to, aim for those top fives, aim for the podium, get that win. It's coming, boys. It's coming. But more than anything, the goal is always to beat your brother. So what has been, or I assume, sorry, you can speak into that a little bit. So what has been kind of your plan this winter to make that happen?
Well, yeah, it's always that competitive drive that you want to beat your brother more than anyone else.
Mhm.
So I just want to just put on more muscle, ride a lot more than we did last year, try to hit some more races, and just get stronger.
So I know y'all are, you ride together, you train together, you work together. So is there any time, like during the day, like you see his open water bottle and you're like pouring junk in there, like to make him sick? Like y'all are going riding that afternoon, you're like, oh, this will kill him. You're pouring it in there, anything like that?
No, I never done that, but it's always on my mind.
Hey, Kohl, you heard it here, man.
Yeah.
Check your water bottle, bro.
Yeah.
Oh, I ain't leaving them lay around anymore. So
Super D's trying to transpire against you. He's trying to put stuff in Kiefer's
No,
mind.
I'm not against anybody. I'm just always for the younger brother.
Oh man, I love it. Love it.
Well, man, hey, go ahead.
I wanted to jump back to something. So, so you guys, you get to travel to and from the races together. So you're kind of getting to relive the race weekend, or do you? I mean, or do you just move on with life after the race weekend? What's that look like on the rides to and from the races? Kohl, go ahead.
well, yeah, usually on the way home, yeah, we'll talk about the race and yeah, be all fired up. I mean, that doesn't go away for a day or two, but then Tuesday comes around and it's time to wash quads and go through everything, repeat, and then following weekend go back to it. So
are y'all, you and both of you and your dad, kind of in charge of rebuilding the machines, taking care of all that stuff, or do y'all have someone who helps you out?
no, we pretty much all of us, we all just work on them. Like my dad, we work on. He does a lot of motor stuff. I do a lot of like cleaning it up, making sure everything's, all the bolts are right, make sure nothing bent or messed up. We come back from the races and do it all over again.
Well, that's what, maintenance is such a key. Y'all talked about earlier in the pro level, like how much faster it is and how long that pace has to sustain itself. What's harder on the equipment, and to have two pro level guys competing like that every weekend. I mean, I know, just me personally trying to keep one race program going was quite the challenge, but y'all got kind of double that duty. So, I know you put in a lot of work on the racetrack and training off, but as far as maintenance and stuff like that, that's a lot of work in itself aside from racing.
Oh, definitely. I bet you before the first race every year, I bet you we will have worked on my quad probably a good 30 hours before we even run it on some dirt for the first time that year.
Wow.
Well, as we're kind of winding things down here, so both of you guys have been on TRXs, right? Is that correct? So no.
Kiefer's on the hybrid. I'm still on the TRX.
Okay, so Kiefer, did you ride a hybrid this past season, or are you moving to a hybrid?
No, that was my first year. Last year was when I switched to the hybrid.
Okay. So now this season, Cole, you'll be back on a TRX, or everybody's going hybrid?
No, I'm still back with the old TRX.
Still TRX. Okay, all right. Well, go ahead.
Kiefer, what is your hybrid? Is it a CRF?
Yeah, it's a 2020 CRF.
Okay, so you got 2020 CRF on a TRX chassis, and
Yeah.
Cole's rocking the TRX. You running 06 plus stuff, or is that you don't want to share that much information, Cole? I don't know. Tell me.
I'm allowed to say it's 06 plus, and that's about all the information I'm allowed
Yeah,
to give.
I don't want Mac calling us or anything. Yeah, so it's a TRX, it's 06 plus. Let's leave it alone from there. So
Yep.
Well, and that's another thing. Was this your theory or my theory? Anyways, we were just like, we saw Robson was riding a TRX. Cole, you had a TRX. There was a few sprinkled in. Sam and Bergia had a TRX. There was a few sprinkled in. And then Brad and Chucky show up with Yamahas, and it's like, what is this? We don't. It's crazy. And so we, on a couple of the episodes, we've talked about like, hey, how many guys will be on CRFs this year after seeing, kind of the success that platform's had. So, Kiefer, it's looking good for you, buddy.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, we're not trying to hate on you. You got your setup figured out on the TRX. Obviously, you're super fast on it. So keep the ball rolling on the TRX, man.
Mm-hmm.
We're not trying to hate on
you. Oh no, I know you aren't.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mitch.
Yeah. Well, I want to know you guys. Kind of, you've already told us a little bit about you trying to put on weight and just get faster this year. But do you have any set goals, like anything that you've written down that this is how I want to perform today or this year, or anything like that?
Right now, my goal right now is to compete this year. I want to compete week in, week out for wins, and maybe even possibly be in for the title at the end of the season. So I've been working really hard this off season. This is the hardest I've ever worked on any off season ever. Usually I take a couple months off and slowly come back into it, start going to the gym, whatever. But this year I didn't take but a couple weeks off, and I was right to it in the gym 5 days a week. And yeah, now the weather's been nice, so been trying to ride as much as possible. And yeah, but no, this season I just want to compete for wins and just be able to put myself in a position to win, to be able to win the race.
Awesome.
Kiefer, what about you, man?
I'm just gonna try to get more top fives in the pro, a couple more podiums. I've been sitting outside the top 5 for a while, pretty much all last season. I just want to be more of a consistent top guy.
Yeah. Well, it's cool that, I know you two guys are close and there's some healthy competition there, but it's good when, both of you are driven and you kind of hold each other accountable. And that's a big deal too. I know even, Mitch and I in our lives, Mitch goes to the gym. I try to not drink so much soda. I guess that's, but that's a big part of our relationship just as buddies, is holding each other accountable. And I bet you guys do the same too. Cause like we said, it's one thing to lose, but it's a totally different thing to lose to your brother. So
agreed.
How about y'all got anybody you want to thank? Like, just think, who do you attribute your success to, or those that help you out? Go ahead, Cole.
I just want to thank my dad most off, because without him, we wouldn't be racing. We wouldn't have fours. We wouldn't be showing up to races. So I want to thank my dad mostly, and my mom, Blue Line Graphics, Bruce Allman from Blue Line Graphics. He always makes the quads look so fresh every year. And Mark Baldwin and Tom Carlson, TC Racing Engines. Yeah, he builds rockets. So, and I think that's about all that's coming to the top of my head right now.
Gotcha. What about you, Kiefer?
Well, it's really the same people, but just my mom and my dad. sometimes I feel like my mom's more into racing than I am. She's even more competitive than all of us, probably.
Well, and this is something that I know Mitch's mom, Miss Lori, was always at the races and stuff. And my mom would come as long as we were, at the time back in the day, we didn't have a motor home or anything like that. We kind of roughed it. But if we did have a place for a shower and a bathroom, Mom would come. And so traveling to the races, is it just you four? Is it the more family? Is it just the boys? Like, what's that look like on a race weekend?
It's usually us four and the dog for a national. But usually for when we go down to North Carolina for a lot of the East Coast, it's usually just me, Kiefer, and my dad.
Gotcha.
That's super cool. We've talked here many times about how ATV racing and EDT racing in general is a family affair. I mean, you are a testament to that. It's a family affair. I mean, you two boys are out on the track competing. Your dad's helping you keep it going, and your mom's keeping that fire lit and that you better perform. I like that a lot. That's fun. As I got to go back to racing here as I was older, that's what my wife is, the competitive one. I come off the track, which I love to compete, but she'd be like, "What were you doing out there? Why'd you let them pass you? Why were you going so slow?" I'm like, "These dudes are doing 75 miles an hour and pitching it sideways. What do you want me to do?" I'm like, scared. My cheeks are clenched. I'm scared to death. But I love this. It's a good time. I mean, there's no other sport like it. I mean, your dad popping out there and riding on the racing on the three-wheeler by surprise. That's cool. It's a sport like no other, and I guess it's a lifetime sport, just like golf or tennis or one of those. But everybody competes on the same track and pushes each other, and it's all a team effort. I mean, so that's super cool. I'm sure the dog kind of is the encourager. The dog come back. What's your dog's name?
Yeah, my dog's name is Grady.
All right, so
we didn't name him. I don't like the name, but hey, that's what we had to accept.
Hey, but he's part of the family.
Oh yes, sir.
Well, man, guys, dude, it has been so much fun just to visit with you guys. I mean, I feel like we could just sit on the couch and hang out and talk racing for another couple hours, but we're going to wind this one down. Looking forward to seeing you guys. Well, I guess what's y'all's schedule? Are y'all running all East Coast stuff? You going to hit some Midwest stuff? Or where will we see you guys first? And kind of what's the plan for 23?
Right now, I think we're going to hit the first couple East Coast down in North Carolina, and then we'll do all the NE Nationals, and then maybe we might hit a Midwest or two. But as of right now, that's how we're looking.
Coming back to Saxton?
Probably not that one.
Oh man, the sandbox, dude, there's a love-hate relationship there, man. I totally get it. That's funny, man. But
looks like we'll probably catch up with them at Black Ink. Well, the first NE race will be out there, but best of luck to you guys in the first couple rounds of the East Coast EDT.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, thanks again. This is Kohl and Kiefer Moore. Thanks for jumping on with us, guys, and we'll see you in North Carolina.
I'll see you there.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Hey, here at Remain in the Race, we're all about Ryland Johnson Racing. For all of the aftermarket needs, from grab bars and bumpers to heel guards to complete custom builds, give them a visit at RylandJohnsonRacing.com.
All right, man, let's jump into our Bible study. We're going to be in John chapter 6, verses 1 through 14, and this is the feeding of the 5,000. So this is a very, very, very popular story of Jesus and a miracle that he performs. It's found in all 4 of the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And John kind of gives some little more details. He adds a little bit. He brings some stuff into the story that the other 3 Gospels don't. But we're missing our man, Mr. Ryan Havens. He had a kind of a crazy schedule. Some things come up, and so reading for us today is Mitch. So Mitch, you want to take it from the top there?
Yeah. So I'll continue with Son of Thunder's version, the NLT. So starting at verse 1 in chapter 6. After this, Jesus crossed over to the far side of the Sea of Galilee, also known as the Sea of Tiberias. A huge crowd kept following him wherever he went, because they saw his miraculous signs as he healed the sick. Then Jesus climbed a hill and sat down with his disciples around him. It was nearly time for the Jewish Passover celebration. Jesus soon saw a huge crowd of people coming to look for him. Turning to Philip, he said, "Where can we buy bread to feed all these people?" He was testing Philip, for he already knew what he was going to do.
Okay, time out. I know we've got a big passage here, but I'm going to interrupt you real quick. So that's verse 6, right?
Yes, yeah.
All right. So what was it? Read that last part of verse 6 again.
For he already knew what he was going to do. He was testing Philip.
Aha.
And
Okay.
I reversed it, but
Yes.
it's for emphasis.
So that was a note that I wrote there. And again, anytime there's numbers, things like this, you got to pay attention to it. And I'm like, of course, Jesus is all-knowing. Like, he knows what's going to happen before it happens. But one thing that I thought was cool here, and this just got my attention. You may have read over it. I've read this story many times, and it never jumped out to me. But as we've been digging into this, and I go back and kind of, look at my previous notes, one thing that's really cool about Jesus is a teacher, okay? And every time he works, he does it with intention. Like, Jesus doesn't just willy-nilly, like, surprise, I fed 5,000 people.
Yep.
That's not how Jesus worked. There's always intention behind it. And one of the things I can remember going through school, one of the youth pastors that I looked up to, he wrote a book called Dodgeball Theology, which was super cool.
Theology.
And kind of the point in his message was, we don't always have to have these deep theological, debates. His deal was have fun, make this journey with Jesus fun, and then look for those teachable moments, because that's how Jesus worked. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. So anyways, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just had a little moment there, and I thought, that's kind of cool. And so just wanted to share that with our listeners. Anytime Jesus does stuff, he does it with intent, because he's a teacher. He's always looking for teachable moments. So if you're a mom, you're a dad, you're a brother, whoever, and you're walking this journey with someone, have fun and look for teachable moments.
That is cool. I think the fact, he knew what he was about to do, but that he asked Philip the question, it's to welcome Philip in. Like,
yes.
Hey, you're going to help me find a solution to this. And what it was, it's just going to open his eyes to the miracle that's going to take place.
Right.
So, had he just given him instructions, sometimes we're just sitting there taking notes and we're not being questioned or challenged to engage. We don't learn as well. That's that deep learning when we're actually moving, doing, and we're engaged. So that's what he's welcoming Philip in, like, look, just watch this happen, but I want you to be thinking on a solution.
I want you to be part of what I'm doing.
That's right.
And the same invitation is extended to us as well.
That is exactly right.
Ooh,
I like it.
Little church service. Verse 7.
I'm going to go back to 6 for just a second. He said he was testing Philip. So the same is going to be true of us. We're going to be tested along the way.
That's a great point. So here, there's 12 guys. Like, why does Jesus single out Philip? And I'm thinking, well, he was probably just standing right there. It wasn't like, Philip, I know you didn't tithe on Sunday. You come here. You come with me. I'm going to prove a point to you. Like, I don't think it was like that at all. I think Philip was right there, and Jesus said, hey, man, what do you think?
Well, as you think about the humanity of these guys, maybe Phil was the practical guy.
Yeah,
I can't say that for sure, but maybe, Jesus has intention with everything he's doing.
Right.
So maybe Phil's the practical guy, like, all right, the answer to what you're asking me, one, there's a ton of people here. This would take more money than any of us have ever made to be able to do this. The practical guy, Philip's going to be, okay, I'm not telling you this is what it is. I'm just telling you to think this way a little bit. If maybe that's why, because it was going to get Philip, it was going to get his attention more than the rest.
Yes,
maybe so.
Oh, so good.
Okay,
so good.
So let me pick up at verse 7. Philip replied, even if we worked for months, we wouldn't even have enough money to feed them. Then Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up. There's a young boy here with 5 barley loaves and 2 fish, but what good is that to this huge crowd? This is Jesus speaking. Tell everyone to sit down, Jesus said. So they all sat down on the grassy slopes. The men alone numbered about 5,000.
Okay.
Men alone. So this doesn't count
Yes.
the women and children that were around.
Right.
So that number's probably at least 3 times that, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, we don't know the exact number, but this is just kind of the men alone.
Okay, before you jump on, just something to hold on to as you get a splash of water there. Water break! Anytime there's numbers, pay attention to that. So what are the 3 numbers he mentions right there? Hit me with them again.
The 3 numbers he mentions?
Yep.
Well, there's 5,000 people. There's 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. So 5 to 5,000.
Okay, so this is something that I was digging, and I've said this since we started this thing. Anytime there's numbers, pay attention. Like, why that? You know, Jesus is intentional. He knows what's going to happen. Okay, so he knows there's 5 loaves and 2 fish there before he starts, right? I mean, that's what we're reading. Correct?
Yes, correct.
And I'm not trying to back you or any of our listeners in the corner. I'm just taking what the text gives us, okay? Well, when you think of 5, if you think about the Torah or the original first 5 books, the law, if you will, okay? The Jewish tradition, this was their Bible at the time.
Correct.
Okay?
Yeah. Yes.
And so here we have, do those 5 loaves of bread, 5 loaves of bread? 5 fish. 5 loaves of bread.
5 loaves of bread.
Okay.
2 fish.
2 fish. Okay. Well, what happened in the Old Testament where there were 2 and it was kind of a really big deal? Like, real big deal. Like Moses coming down off a mountain and his face is glowing, big deal.
Oh, so that's when God gave him, on Mount Sinai, the 10 Commandments.
Yeah.
So there were 2 there.
So
God and Moses.
So we have 5, the law.
Okay.
And then we have the commandments. So we have the law, if you will. We have the beginning books of the Bible.
Yeah.
We have the commandments. Okay.
5 times 2, 10.
Yes.
Okay, am I...
5 times 2, 10. What does 10 represent in Scripture? And you can, by all means, please go research this. If I'm wrong, email me back. I think I'm on point here. But 10, anytime you see 10,
it's a round number. It's
wholeness.
Okay.
Oneness. Still, you're on. Yeah. But what is 5 plus 7?
Yes,
Oh, it's 5 plus 2.
Okay, 5 plus 2 is 7. Which
7.
7, we know the 7 number. Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Beginning of the Bible, God creates the world 7 days. Okay, as Scripture tells us, 7 represents completion. Okay, so we have the law, we have completion, and we have wholeness. Well, anytime you see 10 or anything that's like 10, 120, anything. Oh, I can't think of the word. But
Are you just trying to blow my mind
No,
right now?
I'm not.
Okay,
I'm
so
not.
I was
I'm
having
not.
a conversation last night. Went out to eat with some friends of ours, and we were
Okay.
talking about this encounter that Ryan and I had back in Bentonville with this guy.
Yes.
And he was reading this Bible that was all about the numerical values and what the representation is here. So you've been meeting with that guy, or did you hear my conversation last night?
That was actually me incognito.
Oh wow. You aged yourself so well.
Yeah.
What the things that makeup can do.
Y'all
Great.
didn't invite me. Well, actually, you did invite
We
me,
did
but
invite
I couldn't
you.
go, so I just snuck up there real quick.
Okay, I see. So we were having this numerical conversation last night, and it'll kind of blow your mind a little bit.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we chased all these numbers. You want me to continue on?
Yeah. Okay, so
okay.
just keep those numbers in mind. We have
That's a lot of numbers going
We
through my
have
head.
the original books of the Bible. We have
Yes,
the commandments.
5. Okay.
So we have the
10
complete law. We have completion, wholeness.
Okay. So our numbers are 5, 2, 7, 10, 5,000.
Yes, continue.
And I don't know if multiplication adds up to 5,000, but anyway, TBD. We'll see. We'll see where Liberty's going.
Yes.
Back to the story. Then Jesus took the loaves, gave thanks to God, and distributed them to the people. Afterward, he did the same with the fish, and they all ate as much as they wanted. After everyone was full, Jesus told the disciples, "Now gather the leftovers, so nothing is wasted." So they picked up the pieces and filled 12 baskets with scraps left by the people who had eaten from the 5 barley loaves. When the people saw him do this miraculous sign, they exclaimed, "Surely he is the prophet we have been expecting." When Jesus saw that they were ready to force him to be their king, he slipped away into the hills by himself.
All right. So there at the end, the people that are gathered there, they're a lot of what they are basing the prophet to come is off of what they've read from Moses.
Correct.
So they're, to some extent, you could say, I'm taking some liberties here, so correct me if I'm wrong. They're looking for the second Moses.
Okay, yes. Moses was their dude. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so back to our numbers. 5, 2, so we have the book that Moses wrote, the commandments that Moses wrote. Those two things together are completion, so we have the complete law, okay? And then there's all the people, which is wholeness, oneness.
Okay.
So I'm gonna read my notes here. So Jesus takes the law and he gives it to the disciples. He gives this bread, this fish. There's kind of some symbolization. It's very symbolic here.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, Jesus is intentional. He's trying to teach these people what's happening here, and he's trying to teach his disciples at the same time. Okay, because we're only 6 chapters into this thing, so he's still got a lot of people going, man, I don't know about this guy.
Right. I mean, and we saw in the beginning of this that a lot of people are falling because of the miraculous sign. They're like, we want to be awed. We want to be wowed by, we want to witness these great things he's doing, whether they were really truly had a heart of following him. And I think we're going to see in the coming chapters that they didn't have the correct heart in it. They were just looking for the awe factor. Really.
Right. Okay. So the disciples, they then take this law that was given to them from Jesus and they feed the people of God. Okay. The people eat. They eat this thing. They partake. There's more than enough left over. There's 12 baskets left over. Okay, now here's kind of the big teaching point. Like if you were to put this, I always like to do with my students, a sermon in a sentence. If you're to take this little piece of scripture and put it into a sentence, for me, this is what I'm picking out of this big teaching point. Jesus is telling these people, when you allow me, Jesus, to interpret the law and you trust me with it, there is more than enough to go around for all of God's people. Like as I was putting this together, I was like, ooh, okay. That's good. Now that may be, for some of you, you may be going, Daniel, come on. Like that's a bit of a reach. But again, if you go back to how we started, Jesus is intentional. There's always a point. He's always trying to plead his case to the Gentiles, to the Jews, everyone there to say, look, I am God's son. And so I just wonder that day if there's people sitting there going, wait a second, this is all kind of lining up with what Moses said.
Yeah, and you use the word plead. I was thinking prove, You've got to think in that number of people, it's even just his inner circle of guys, those 12, everyone has a different learning style. And so Jesus is going to use many different styles to prove and point back to Old Testament and show that he is the fulfillment of that.
Yes.
He's going to display his power and all those things through that. So just kind of practical application that I thought of in here is the natural response of these 12 guys is we're insufficient. I mean, we don't have the means to take care of these people, to sufficiently feed them, and that's where Jesus is really going to be able to show himself. So it's the same with us today. We're incapable of truly showing who God is, but as the Spirit works through us, then the truth of who he is can be revealed to people, and that's the work of the Holy Spirit. So, God's going to show us that even though we may feel insufficient, when we serve him, when we submit to him and just follow his instruction, he's gonna work through and accomplish great things in us when we're obedient to him. Right. So that even though it seemed like an insurmountable thing, the disciples followed through with what Jesus said. They were like, we've already witnessed you do great things. We trust you. We might not fully know you at this point, but we're going to just trust you. We're going to trust you every step of the way.
And you think about the things that they witnessed. It was pretty, man, I don't want to say like at the banquet, the water into wine, that I'm not saying that's a little miracle. Like what, and if you don't remember that, go back and listen to that episode. But this was a big thing. Like, this was like, hey, we saw you touch that man there. We saw you do this one little thing. We saw you over here. But we're out in the open. This is a big deal. And so, again, like you said, everything you said, 100% on. Like, hey guys, you need to trust me in this. But one of the things that, little sermon here, is that anytime we're faced with something, when we bring those things to Jesus, we bring our 2 fish and our 5 loaves of bread. What's the first thing that Jesus does that I think we do? We bring our problem, we give thanks to God for the provisions that we have, and then we just say, it is in your hands now. And then look what Jesus does with it. That's so cool. Man, this is so much more than just Jesus performed a miracle.
And I think you're painting a correct response. That's what we should do.
Yes,
it's not what we always do, though. The natural inclination is be like, so I'm going to do the math. I'm going to figure this out myself and see how it's going to work. This isn't going to work. I'm just going to back up, hands off. This is impossible. Yep. But we try to take control into our own hands. But the correct response is to bring it to him and be like, Jesus, I don't have the capacity to take care of this. I can't do this.
This is out of my control.
Yeah. You take control. And that's when your faith is strengthened, because then you see him work. Not only were they blessed in this because they got to be part of this great miracle, but all these people had the opportunity to be blessed. Okay, they had a temporary meal, but some of those, the ones that will truly be disciples, his disciples, they'll be like, we're going to submit to this guy. It's no longer just about witnessing miracles and being a part of some great event on earth, but I want to be part of him forever.
Yeah, man. Oh, such good stuff. Good stuff here. All right, what else you got for me? Hit me with it. I kind of got you with the numbers thing.
You did. You had me over here. So, I'm a little bit of a numbers person, doing math in my head. I didn't know, where all you're going with that. And I do believe that numbers have a reason.
Yeah.
But I believe I probably had the look of many listeners that as they do this, where's Super D going with this?
Well, and again, if this is a stretch, if you're like, come on, man, hey, stick with it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep backing this up as we continue to move through this scripture. So this is if you didn't believe this one, just stick with me. We got more to come.
Hey, and if you're hung up on the numbers, don't miss the big picture here. Don't miss the big picture.
Stop reading my notes,
okay, I'm
man.
sorry. I'm not. I'm screen peeking. Don't quit screen peeking.
Sure.
No, I'm not. I can't read that far. Sorry, I'm gonna need glasses or something. But the big picture is Jesus over and over again can meet the need. He will always be able to meet our need. The greatest need we need is to be restored to God, restored to relationship to God, and that is only by way of Jesus. And this miracle is only one other testament to that. And we think as we look through the book of John, that's what John is doing here. He said, I want to give enough information here that if this is the only letter or only book that you ever read, you'll have enough information here to conclude, even though you weren't there to witness it, that Jesus is the Messiah. He is perfectly holy.
Yep.
He is the perfect fulfillment of the old scripture law that we've been following all this time, and it is only through him that we will be restored to God.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Absolutely, that is his point here. And so when you go and read this story in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, there's some details that are going to be different because the point of their letter was a little different. John's point, and we said this from the get-go, that John is to prove that Jesus is the Messiah.
Well, if you've kind of studied that through to as you listen to a person's testimony or a witness of event, everyone's perspective is a little different.
Right,
you and I can experience the same exact thing. We can experience the exact same race from the sideline and both perceive it just somewhat different.
Yep.
And that adds to the genuine nature of the testimony. It wasn't that they got together and say, hey, let's write this down. It was they both experienced it. They had their perspective on it, and so they document their account of it, and that makes the accounts genuine, which adds to the testimony of who Jesus really is.
Oh, so good, so good.
So good.
I'm in, man. the last little nugget I have here, I wrote this down, and this is kind of my question as we wrap this one up. And I'm guilty of this. Is we get so focused on the smallest of details when it comes to God's word that we want to kind of get off in the weeds. And I think we've done a great job today of what's the point.
Yeah.
Like, we might have done 5 + 2 = 7 or 3 + 4, but the point is we got to 7, okay? And not that the details don't matter, they do, but that doesn't need to be like the main focus, if you will.
Right.
I'm walking on eggshells here.
Well, no. I like the perspective you brought to it, Super D, and I think that's the point of our podcast here is we have different perspectives on the scripture we read, and we're going to bring different points to it. But I think, this is another lesson in of itself is, reading individual scriptures is important, but you always need to read it for its entirety and its context to fully understand, because, many people, and they will continue to do this, will take one single verse and say this is what it means without looking at the entire context of it. So there's nothing wrong with living on a verse. This is my life verse or whatever. But always understand the context of what is going on at that time, what the full story is saying. That way you can fully understand it.
Yeah. So we get hung up on these little details, but the big picture, and we've said this over and over, so I'm kind of wrapping it up here. When you're faced with a difficult situation, are you going to trust God to provide for your needs? Okay? Do you believe that He is real, and will you trust His provisions? Because He's done it over and over and over, and I think that's one of the things.
The correct answer is yes.
Yeah.
Do we always do it? No.
Right.
But we need to remind ourselves, trust in God's provision, not in the immediate result. Trust in His provision. Glory's coming.
Ooh, that's good stuff, man. That's all I got for today.
All right.
What do you got? Anything you want to wrap?
I
this
don't.
Up with?
I think it was good. What another great episode with Miss Son of Thunder. But man, thanks again for the Moore brothers jumping on with us. I am ready to get this season rolling as far as on the dirt.
Yep, me too, man. And like I said, next episode we'll be able to drop, what builder we've got scheduled for what track, and I'm pumped, dude. I think we're gonna have a great season. It's gonna be fun to get back out there, reconnect with some old friends, and meet some new ones. I'm really looking forward to it. Well, you want to close us in prayer, Mitch?
I will. Father God, we thank you that you are all we need, that through Jesus and the sacrifice He made, that we can be made right with you. I pray that you will just help us to place our faith in Him, and each day as we face insurmountable trials or tests or difficulties, that we will just lean on you for sufficiency, knowing that you have a perfect plan in all things. And God, just continue to bless us, use us, and be with all the listeners out there. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. We'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for listening.
We're really doing it, and it's because of you, all of our loyal listeners. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you've subscribed, we appreciate it. If you're sharing our stuff on social media, thank you to each and every one of you. We encourage you to subscribe, give us a like, give us a review, because we want to get better, and you guys help us do that. So thank you again, and we will catch you in the next one.